of the operation. Between I got to get Dusty and Nick to double check those numbers and everything.
Okay.
I'm not concerned. We've seen superstars that have gone to New York. It's a hard transition. The New York media, the spotlight being on you. It's different playing in New York. You can't act as if that wouldn't affect you. But also, let's think where he came from. He came from Miami. I looked at the weather yesterday in Miami. It was 87. All right, yesterday here, 37. All right, so the big difference in climate and him playing those cold conditions, I believe, has led to him striking out a little bit more. As it starts to get a little bit warmer, I'm sure he's going to hit himself out of this, Nick.
Listen, he's going to be a high strikeout guy. He's always been a high strikeout guy, not to this degree this early, but also one thing Stan's always been as a guy who will catch fire and all of a sudden hit 13 home runs in 17 games. Like, that absolutely will happen. It's important Yankee fans be patient with him, because you're going to get him for a long
That's
time.
Funny.
You got 9 years, $270 million left of Giancarlo Stanton. So throwing him out after 10 games ain't great, but I understand. To already have 2 hitless 5 strikeout games is unprecedented, as Jenna mentioned.
All right, yesterday the Warriors beat the Suns, but the team hasn't been playing well. 7-9 in their last 16 games, with only a few future Hall of Famers in the lineup, not all 4. Also, head coach Steve Kerr criticized the team's defense and effort last week. Nick, what do you make of the Warriors' performance without Steph? You've changed your tune a little bit down the stretch here.
It ain't great, as they say, and one underrated edge the Warriors have had the last 3 years in the postseason is a mental edge going into every game and every series. A team could be up 13 and feel like they're up 2. Like the ability for the quick strike, a game's never over. All of a sudden, if they play Oklahoma City in the first round, if they play Minnesota with Jimmy Butler back in the first round, I wonder what type of mental edge they have when those teams almost assuredly will have been playing just to get into the playoffs, and the Warriors will have been playing their worst month of basketball in any time in the last 4 years. Like, I still think they should win their first round series. They will have Kevin Durant, they will have Klay Thompson, but they look shaky for the first time, really, since they were down 3-1 against OKC.
Jenna, what did we see the last time Steph Curry hurt his ankle when he came back?
He was a lights out on fire.
Okay, that's exactly what we're going to see in the playoffs. So I'm not concerned about them playing without Steph. He's that kind of player. You don't lose that type of player and expect the productivity, especially when you have 4 superstars. You know that your bench is going to be limited. You know your player development is going to be limited because you're going to be playing with a few veterans and a bunch of young guys with no experience. So you knew it would suffer. So how you ever sustain that? Either Quinn Cook, he develops late. I believe that to be a positive. But our boy, goodness gracious, Nick Young. Nick Young, I thought he was going to be a super sub. He hadn't been that for them. But coming off the bench, his 3-point shooting, you thought that was a perfect match going to Golden State. It hasn't been. So there's some other things, one positive, one negative that I am getting from Golden State.
All right, just 2 months after Philly became the best team in football, Philly now poised to do the same in basketball. They got a big win over the Cavs on Friday night. Sunday, they followed it up with a win over the Mavs. They're 14th in a row. Philly currently sits as a 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Nick, how much of a threat are the 76ers to Cleveland in the East?
CC, 6 weeks ago, when people were really high on Toronto, when Kyrie was healthy, who's the team that I said is the only team that I think could give the Cavs some trouble?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
The matchups.
The matchups, the amazing progress of Joel Embiid from a guy who's going to be really good to a guy who already is arguably the best center in the league. Well, since then, Ben Simmons has taken it to another level. Now, part of their record since Embiid's been out, winning 6 of these 14 since Embiid's been out, has been their competition. But Cleveland's mixed in there, and they were up 30 on Cleveland.
That's the only quality win that you can say with Embiid being out is the one over Philly.
But the thing is this, but what it has allowed is Ben Simmons' usage rate has gone up, and he is orchestrating everything. He's a fringe all-NBA performer, and then they've done a good job building the rest of the lineup. 3-and-D guys in Robert Covington, a sniper in J.J. Redick. Dario Saric has been good, and now Fultz is coming off the bench. This is a really good basketball team. There's a reason they have the second best record in the NBA since Christmas. Like, I don't think they have enough experience to beat the Cavs. I don't think they have enough experience to win 3 rounds in the playoffs. But to me, after Cleveland, they're the most dangerous team in the Eastern Conference.
We also talk so much about turning up defense, and this is what I'm learning from you guys, that it just happens. How good has this Philadelphia defense been? During this stretch, they've had like the league's best defense. They've really, really played well, and they don't have Joel Embiid back in.
Right, and you have to give their coach a lot of credit for that. They have played spectacular defense. That's not something NBA that we're going to talk about. Now, they're a team that we don't have to, like the Cavs say, oh, they're going to up their intensity on the defensive end. When they get Joel Embiid back, I believe this experience playing without him, it will only help them. But my biggest concern about Philadelphia is, will they get the whistle? You have to beat, in the NBA, you have to beat the opposition, beat the opponent, but also you have to beat the referees, especially when you have a superstar on the other team. LeBron, KD, Harden, Russ, and Steph. Those are the only guys that you know the whistle will be slanted in their favor. The refs are not going to let you assault or just ride them up and down the court or have unusually heavy amounts of contact with them. Philadelphia, you're saying Joel Embiid's going to get that? And the first time they've been in the playoffs since 2001? I don't believe that. That the striped shirts in the playoffs, they ref the games totally different. And with him being a dominant post player, is he going to get those calls that the other superstars will get because they play on the perimeter and also drift inside? So that's something that I'm concerned about. I know it's a real thing in the playoffs, and the refs will hold their whistle, especially against a young team.
That's a good point. All right, sticking with the Cavs and the Sixers after trailing by 30 on Friday, Cleveland almost mounted the comeback of all comebacks. However, LeBron missed 2 free throws late. He's shooting 8 for 17 from the line in the final 10 seconds of a one-possession game this season. That's the worst percentage in a season in the last 20 years. Cece, what do you make of LeBron's struggles at the line?
It's not good. This is not new information. If you look at LeBron James's game and the people who want to criticize him, there's several things that they go to. Number one thing that they go to is his disappearance in the finals against the Dallas Mavericks.
Fair.
They always talk about that. Him going into the corner, him just drifting away from the game, him seeming like this wasn't the NBA Finals, like this is just a normal, another NBA series of games. And he's always criticized for that. Number 2 would be his overall lack of a winning record in championships. If you look at Magic, Kareem, the other great players besides Wilt Chamberlain, all those players, for the most part, had a winning record in NBA Finals, with the benchmark being either Bill Russell, for those who talk about the greatest champion, or Michael Jordan and him going 6-0. The third thing would be his free throw shooting. Like, you would not expect an offensive player as good as him, who is not a 6'10" or above. Typically, you see 7-footers. They have free throw shooting problems. But to me, one of the greatest scorers ever, the greatest offensive player ever, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Look at his free throw percentage compared to LeBron's. Like, you wouldn't think that a 7-footer could shoot free throws as good as LeBron. And the great players typically shoot about 79 to 82%. And you close out so many games because if you get to the rim, either I'm going to make it or get fouled to be able to close you out. And that's a question that LeBron, he can't answer.
Listen, this year, it's a fair criticism. Those numbers are slightly misleading to 8 for 17 because 2 of those were intentionally missed because the team was down by more than 1. But 8 for 15 ain't great.
No.
And
was the first intentional one, did he miss that after missing the free throw? Or
I think the first intentional one was in a situation where he was fouled down 3 and he only had 2 free throws. Make the first, miss the second. But regardless, no matter what it is, it ain't great. And LeBron, listen, LeBron for his career is a 74% free throw shooter. That's not great. Michael Jordan for his career is an 83% free throw shooter. That's better. Those 9% matters. Those 9% percentage points matter.
Well, there's a huge difference.
Yeah, of course there is. That's what I'm saying. Like, it is an absolutely fair criticism that is the part of his game. It is more similar to the Hall of Fame centers. Kareem was 72%. Like, Duncan was in the mid-60s. LeBron should be closer to the mid-80s than the mid-70s. It is the one flaw in his offensive game. But if I can say that, then people on the flip side of the coin have to also be able to say this. While over the course of his career, he's been an average free throw shooter, in the most clutch moments, which is what that stat's about.
Right.
He's been as good as anybody. Game 7 of the NBA Finals in 2016, he hit the free throw to seal the game. Game 7 of the NBA Finals in 2013, he hit the 2 free throws to seal the game. In those games, by the way, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, he was 16 of 19 from the free throw line. Like, LeBron missing free throws to cost himself a championship, that has never happened.
Just seems like an easy shot to practice.
I'm sure he practices it, Jenna.
Then he's such a good, I don't know. Coming up, is it time to forget about trading Odell Beckham Jr.?